a Tennessee anniversary bottle haul. You guys like them? We're here to show them, so stay tuned. Welcome to Pars and Pours. Jim here, and this is Golf Centric Whiskey Channel, and this is where we're going to talk about a little bit about golf and a lot about whiskey. And this last week, and the wife and I celebrated our 42nd anniversary. Now, the whole entire time I was there, it was 79 years, 37,422 years, whatever which one. And but it was a lot of fun. It was a trip to actually go through Tennessee, because the idea was we were going to end up at the Biltmore Mansion, which I know Jim is in North Carolina. However, we took the long route to go get it in order to visit distilleries. That was my anniversary gift from her. So what did we do? We actually we started in Louisville, saw a couple places in Louisville, and then went down to the boundary of Tennessee and Kentucky, stayed the night in Franklin, Kentucky. Very nice place. And then we went into Nashville. Went into Nashville and saw Nashville Barrel Company. We also saw the Nelson's Greenbrier, and this is Nashville Barrel Company. And we're going to talk about this one, but this is the one I'm going to uncork, and we're going to try, and I'm going to tell you why here in just a little bit. Glug, 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 glug. Alrighty. Anyway, then we ended up going down to Franklin, Tennessee. Franklin, Tennessee was the stop of Leiper's Fork. Then we went into Lynchburg, Tennessee. Obviously, we all know that's Jack Daniels. However, it's home to a couple others that we're going to talk about. Then we finished our trip into Chattanooga. Now, on the way to Chattanooga, we found 2 distilleries there, along with visiting Rock City. So all those guys that are traveling down to Florida and you always saw on the side of the barns, visit Rock City, this was the place. I remember doing it as a kid. We never stopped. Well, now we did. It was worthwhile. Did the incline, and the incline's a trolley that takes you to the very peak of a mountain. It's very cool. A neat little touristy kind of thing to go do, and I would suggest it if you have the time. Take about a day, right? Take a day. Then from there, we were on our way to the Biltmore Mansion. However, my wife saw that there was a whole bunch of, a route took us past Sevierville, which I didn't think it did. And that had extra places, but they are more heavily inclined to the moonshine, which is my wife's preference. So we ended up stopping, and we saw a handful of other ones there as well, which we will also talk about. Then we got to the Biltmore finally, and then on our way home. So these are not all the barrels or the bottles. We came home 25 heavy. That doesn't include the moonshines that we picked up. So we've got quite a bit to talk about. So let's start from the beginning and then work our way to the end. So the first one we stopped at was Old Louisville, right? Old Louisville. Now, Old Louisville is basically a group of fellas. In fact, when I say group of fellas, and there we go, group of fellas, that it's a 3-man show. Anyway, what they do is they go out and they go get some barrels of whiskey that they prefer. They age them up, maybe put them in some different finishing barrels or whatnot, and are always trying to pick out the best that they can possibly pick. The guys there are phenomenal. It's a great trip, and we found out that they are also moving to a larger facility because they have outgrown it. They got a neat little still. I don't know what they've done with it just yet. However, this one, it's kind of funny because it's a batch that I thieved out of a barrel, and this is a bourbon, and it's 109.2. It's 109.2 proof, and I believe this thing was over 8 years old. A very, very fine bottle. Now, I also have another one that is a rye cask from them, and I believe I have a maple finish bottle from them. So a bunch of good guys. Truly decide, if you ever get a chance to get back into Louisville, definitely stop in and see them. All right, the second folks that we saw while we were there is Buzzard's Roost. All right, Buzzard's Roost. We got to see Jamie Jameson. Gotta like the Jimmy Jameson. Gotta like the first name. and he was our, we say he was our escort through the Buzzard's Roost product, plus going into the back again to be able to thieve. I decided against it because the stuff they had out front was far superior to what was in that bottle, or in that barrel. What I walked away with is a double oak cigar blend. And what got me on this one was, and we talked about it for a while, is when I hear cigar blend, I think these smoky flavors and all these other things. And I'm not a smoker, so that's not a thing for me. Tasted this, it's nowhere close. This is an absolutely delicious bottle. We also walked away with a Jim Gaffigan set bottle of bourbon that was out of sight. All right, and so that's going to be a theme kind of when we go through this. So again, the tasting room that was there was just absolutely very, very cool. And the last tasting room we went to was Green River. Okay, Green River. Now Green River has a tasting and a barrel filling, or a bottle filling. You get to go taste the single barrel product that they have, and then you have the option to fill it in this cool canteen looking porcelain decanter. Now we went there, and the machine that did the filling was broken. Well, dejected as we were, the manager there came up with an idea to give us but to get a empty version of this that happens to be signed by the master distiller, and then pick a single barrel pick, which would have been single barrel strength, just like we were going to get to. And they had two to choose from. They had a Halloween, and then they had a Christmas. Everybody's telling us that they like the Halloween, and I ended up liking the Christmas one. So that we got. So we got to thinking of whether we would put this in here or not, because the stamp that you would have to put on it would cover this, and we decided this is just going to be a really cool display piece. Okay, so now we've left, and we have one more. All right, the last place we stopped was Boundary Oak Distillery. Boundary Oak is a neat little, and again, these are very, very small distilleries, and they let you go taste through it, and they're very military forward because of Fort Knox. All right, and they have a General Patton, they have a Lincoln, they have these things that are dedicated to presidents and generals. And what we found we liked the most was two of their limited edition bottles. One was finished in Amburana, and the other one was just a regular bourbon finished in Mezzanera. Very delightful, 5 years old. This is the oldest stuff that they got. They're a young group. And the other thing that they're really known for, as far as I'm concerned, is a kind of a dessert thing. It's a Sinful 69. It's a cinnamon whiskey that blows a lot of other cinnamon whiskeys right out of the woods. Okay, so now we're leaving Kentucky. And we go, and the very first stop is Nashville Barrel, right? Nashville Barrel. Nashville Barrel is another one of those companies that is actually quite known for getting a lot of very, 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 very good single barrels, and then doing different things with them as well, as far as finishing, aging, whatever you want to do. Now they have a fill your own plus make your own blend, and that's what we did. We did a do your own blend, and this do your own blend, you have 4 barrels to choose from, and the person that puts you through the paces as far as doing it gives you some pointers on how to make a good blend. And so we took his advice. And there was a lady named Jackie that was a nurse. She was a travel nurse, and we got to talk quite a bit. Had a lot of common likes when it came to whiskeys. And so you start with a blend, a 50-50 blend, 60-40 blend, and out of my mouth came, I like to see a 30-30-30 of this particular blend that they had. And when we did, yep, we came up with the blend that we all walked away from. All of us but one like the 30-30-30 blend. So I get it, and what I did was I called this the Travel Nurse Blend in honor of Jackie, with the pars and pours underneath of it. So we all walked away with it. This is the first time. Now typically what I have found is that when you when you take a blend, you get something that you really like. After it sits for a while, it becomes something that you may not like. So we're going to try this out. So, salute. It's just a nice, it's not super sweet, but it's not sour at all. A little bit of rye grain in it, because we both talked about how much we like the rye. And then ended on maybe a bit of a cherry note, so that's very good. Oh, and I like it. It's a complex. It's probably not one of the best ones I've ever had, but it has, you get the rye spice, you get the little bit, the hint of the cherry, you get a creamy texture, an oily texture in the middle, and you get hit with what I would call a medium finish. I don't need to be overwhelmed with it, but it's what we signed up for. Now you get it a second time around. A whole bunch of vanillas are starting to show up. Brown sugars. It's turning out it's getting sweeter as we let it air. Yeah, that one turned out pretty good. I'm happy with that blend. So Jackie, we did good. All right, so after we get done with Nashville Barrel, of course I walked away with an extra one, and yet another Jim Gaffigan bottle went home with us as well. That it was just either he's picking it or he's got a lot of guys that know how to pick this, because it was really, really, really well done. Alrighty, so the next one we move out and we go to Nelson's Greenbrier. Again, Nelson's Greenbrier, you gotta love what they do with these things. They put them in these bags. Look how cool that is. Anyway, Nelson's Greenbrier's been around for a bit, and back in the day, this is another one of these great stories that you would hear from Kentucky, that the Nelson's Greenbrier started way back when, and now it fell down, and a couple of cousins that found out they were related decided to bring the product back together. And they're doing a very, very good job of it. Their distillery has a sit-down place to eat, has a nice merchandise area, and the product that they're pulling out of there is something else. They have a rye that sells out almost instantly. They have a bourbon that follows along with it, and these are their limited release that almost sells out directly right after it. And they have a bottle your own event as well. You'll notice that these bottle your own is kind of a theme, right? Like I said, if it's a bottle your own, blend your own, Build-A-Bear bourbon your own, we're in. So the guide on this one, the guy was just outstanding there. And we got to check out, and I ended up with taking a Tokai cask finish bourbon, and this comes out at 113.63. And don't know the age, but man, oh man, when you get through with this, the color on this thing is just this nice, even darker amber color, and it's just something else to be seen. And I'm trying to figure, oh, here's the other one. I just didn't have enough room on my little bitty table. I got rid of the other one because we sold it to somebody that needed it. And the other one ended up being a Barrique Rye Stout. And the Barrique is a name of a beer that they work with, and it's a stout beer, obviously. And so what it does, the rye cask gets finished for X number of years. They put some beer in it for a couple of years. It comes back. They put some more that rye back in it and let it set, and it just has this really funky chocolatey note that is just something else. The Tokai cask. I've got another Tokai that we had from Penelope, and both of these things were just right on the mark. They're nice, and they're just subtle. They're very subtle. They're very easy to get through. Definitely could see being that more of a shelfer than anything else. However, it's in a bottle your own. Super duper. All right, moving on. So we travel another 45 minutes, and we get to Leaper's Fork. Okay, Leaper's Fork. The Leaper's Fork was unique. It has again, it's a small family craft distillery. It's on a farm in the middle of Tennessee that you got to drive in a few kind of funky roads in order to get there. And we had a tour by Sir Paul, a Scottish person, and he was an ex-Navy man, and unfortunately he was a coner. Actually a weapons person on a surface ship, And we had the Navy bond though, so that was pretty good. The man was extraordinarily entertaining. Super nice guy. Lots of things to figure out. Shows you all the ins and outs of making whiskey. And we got there and we ended up with a bottle and bond rye. This thing is just out of sight again. This one is 55% rye, 30% corn, 15% malted barley. Of course, it's bottled in bond, and it is 7 years old. So the extra age on this guy, it just makes it worth the while. Normally when I get something like this, I get it and I can taste nothing but rye. It's awful spicy and just plain awful. This, on the other hand, is something to really, really, really enjoy. And to the point I'm seriously considering putting this one in on the in my Ryder Cup because it is just so good. Now we ended up with another one called a Freedom Bottle, and the Freedom Bottle is basically a bottle that when you buy, the proceeds go to help other military charities and whatnot, and it turns out it's very, very good. Other distilleries are getting in with it, and they're putting it together, and it's supposed to be a very, very nice one. We ended up buying that out of the fact that it supported charities. All right, so now we're done in Franklin, Tennessee, and now we're on our way to Lynchburg. We all know what's going to happen at Lynchburg. You got to stop at Jack Daniel's. All right, now I got to tell you, I haven't had a sip of Jack Daniel's since I wasn't allowed to have a sip of Jack Daniel's, and I had such a poor experience. I swore it off. Never going to happen again. This year, everybody's talking about how great Jack Daniel's is. Well, if you can get that Tanyard or that Coy Hill, sure, I'm sure that it is, but it's like, again, nabbing a unicorn, of which in my little bit of area is probably not going to happen. However, I got the next best thing. We did a tour, and the tour is very interesting too, by the way. They have their own little fire department, how the Lincoln County process evolves. That's really, really nice information to know. However, I ended up with a Heritage bottle. Single Barrel Heritage Tennessee, and this comes out at 100 proof. Now this is a surprise. Now for all you guys are like, oh, I got to run out there because it's going to be, it's a one-of-a-kind limited edition. Well, it's not. Okay, it's not. So this is a normal, I would say, $70-ish bottle that you could get anywhere. So if you're out there on that secondary, screw them. Go with the regular one because this is going to be a normal product. Unless you wanted to be the very first person to have it and spend all that extra cash. But this is extraordinarily nice. This is a surprise to me. Not the biggest surprise of my trip, but I'll call it second or third biggest surprise for me. Okay, so we walked away with that one, and I ended up getting a Sinatra box. I had a weak moment. They told me it was all special. I had a bunch of people that were on the tour that had it and said, yes, it was very good. Okay, so I ended up getting that one. Now, the next one we went to, and you won't see a bottle in here because we didn't get one, was Uncle Nearest. Now, the compound that Uncle Nearest is on is something to go see. It certainly is a place to go see. There's a couple of restaurants that do some pretty good barbecue, so I'm told. And the place that you go in to learn about Uncle Nearest is like this ginormous, I always call it an airport shed, this half, Quonset hut kind of thing going on. And the stuff inside this place is absolutely outstanding. The people there that want to talk about Uncle Nearest and the history and what goes on there, again, super nice people. However, the product just didn't agree with me, so I did not pick up anything there. So I'm not picking up bottles because I didn't like them. I'm picking up all the ones that I did like. So again, we had to give, the presentation was excellent. The product to me just wasn't. All right, so we left there and we had enough time, and here comes my number one shocker. We stopped at George Dickel, or what's now called Cascade Distilling. And we hear all the things about Dickel, about how, oh, it's minerally and all it's burnt this and all that stuff. And I got to talk to Larry, who was one of the original folks there, I can only imagine. He was there with his dad taking some of the original photos when he was 6. The man as old as I am. So, we got to talk about what Dickel does that's a little bit different. So the very first thing is I got an aged 8-year bourbon whiskey without the E, right? And it comes in at 90 proof. Now, this was a shocker. When I tasted this, it was like drinking cotton candy. Okay, this is probably some of the sweetest stuff I've ever drank, and it gave me another flavor profile that I've never experienced, and absolutely, and for you that want to get into bourbon, I would recommend this one highly. There is almost no burn on this. All right, the finish on this is non-existent, but everything up front is literally like you've went to the carnival and you've got the caramel apple and you got the cotton candy and you're eating it together. That's what this one is. Absolutely outstanding. It just absolutely turned me on my ear. I couldn't believe how good this really was. So much so that they had a 12-year, and I picked up a 12-year bottled in bond, which was just an older version of it. I called this, and I told Larry, I said, this is kind of like the kids version. The 12 years more like the adult version, just a little bit not as sweet, but it had just a hair finish. They also had a 17-year I wanted so bad, and it was just, the flavor profile on this thing was just so good that the price kind of knocked me off when I'm getting these things for $70, $50, $70, and then all of a sudden it went to $350 for that. I get the age difference. I understand it. I just couldn't let it go. All right, so we did that. Did Lynchburg. It's all good. Now we're into Chattanooga. Get in Chattanooga. You can't go to Chattanooga without visiting Chattanooga Whiskey. So we did their tour. They did not have a barrel thieving deal. Neither did Cascade Distilling. However, Chattanooga Whiskey is not afraid to experiment, and that is the best thing about them. And so we went through the tasting profiles, and this time they had an experimental single batch. It was called Cola Infused, Kola Infused, 90 proof. And and if you know anything about them, they got all these numbers from all these different batches that they can put together. And this turned out, this was a 7-barrel blend, super duper nice, signed by the master distiller. And look how dark it is, right? Just super duper dark. Now, we went back a second day because we were so enthralled with the way that they were laid out, and they had some 375s, and these are called single barrel Vault series. And what they did here is they had a smaller batch, and they finished this one in a tequila barrel, and then they have another one, a Sauterne wine finish. I've been drinking out of this tequila one. This one's pretty special. And this one's a 7-year, and it comes in to us has a longer finish. I like the fact that they give us some notes, and 123 proof by volume. So they have that one, and the Sauterne is right there behind them. Both of those things are outstanding. But the experimental series was cool. They have a bottle and bond, which is a shelfer. They have another product, they're both good. These were just a whole neck and shoulders above all the rest of them and worth the stop. So definitely I would check those guys out. Oh my God, this was just like I dipped something in caramel right here. Nicely done. Okay, so now we're done with Chattanooga. Oh no, we're not. We went to Gate 11. Gate 11 is so small, it's not even funny. It's a great little place, mom and pop. The lady's an ex-teacher, the guy's an ex-engineer, so I got to talk to him and speak engineer. The guy's got it going on. The Lego set that he's put together to distill out of is really cool. Now, unfortunately, their speciality was clear spirits. Although they did have bourbon, and the bourbon was still aging, I got to taste a little bit of it. With a few more years, this thing is going to get some serious notoriety. However, if you're a gin person, this Gate 11 is the way to go. All right, that is the absolute way to go. We ended up getting that one, and we got a 151 rum. Okay, and that's what we ended up getting from them. Super nice group of people, super nice tour. It was just the things that they were showing me was funny. I understood completely because of my operations background, and I got to talk to him a little bit more about it, and a couple of nerds talking to each other was pretty cool. All right, so now we left there. Now we're on our way to Biltmore. We ended up stopping at a few places. Old Tennessee is one of them. All right, Old Tennessee primarily is moonshine. However, the guys that are there have themselves a smaller still. They have a gin still, and I believe they even have a vodka still, and where they make their moonshines, their whiskeys, and whatnot. And they have this incredible lineup. The one that caught me by surprise was a peach jalapeno one, and I'm not a peach person, but I am a jalapeno person, and they were it was very, very nice. I wasn't taking it home, but it was pretty exciting to taste it. The wife ended up taking some home, and I ended up taking home a honey barrel finished whiskey that was about 5 years old, and I have it setting back here. I just can't dig it out right now. But Old Tennessee whiskey, definitely worth it. And if you guys have any idea, it's in Sevierville and literally across the street from a Buc-ee's. So you can go check them out there. Then we're on our way out. We go to Mossback. Mossback is, again, another extraordinarily small place that has a small little speakeasy that's in the front that does mixed drinks, maybe a little sandwich, and while they're distilling in the back. Again, they rely a little bit more on clear spirits, but not moonshine. But I did walk away with it was a twofer. And the reason why was I mixed them together and I found out I really like it. And so they have a cleric bottle, Clericus. They have a Clericus bottle, and this is a brown sugar flavored bourbon whiskey. It is extraordinarily sweet. Now I want to go back to Tennessee. Old Tennessee had some flavored whiskeys as well. The proof was kind of low on them, but these flavors that were coming out of them were pretty spectacular. So if you're, again, somebody that likes a sweet, very, very sweet whiskey, that would be something to go check on here. All right, back to Clericus. This brown sugar flavored whiskey was just something else. It is only 70 proof, and again, they're blending it down. However, they have another product called Longstreet, and that's a traditional whiskey. When you put these two together, you get something pretty special. All right, we finished Mossback. Now, Mossback was kind of off the road a ways, and we drove through this really nice town that had these extraordinarily nice houses, and that were kind of built around a golf course, golf and bars and pours, and they had a nice little golf setup right out there. So, on a nice day, if we ever have to go back, I think I'm going to try and go there. All right, last but not least, we ended up going to Bootleggers. All right, Bootleggers. Bootleggers, again, is this little cabin. It's a one-man show, and they've got a lot going on. Again, it was more about the moonshines than it was the whiskey. The wife picked up a blackberry, which was to die for, and a couple other flavors that I actually picked up one that I liked, an apple pie. However, what they did is they intrigued me with this one. 100% corn whiskey, right? And that's all they can call it because it never saw a barrel. So I'm not sure what we can do with this one in order to play around with it. But what he's done is he's thrown some barrel staves in here to kind of age it inside. So it's never seen a white oak charred barrel. All right, and it's got these staves in it. The barrel is inside the whiskey instead of the whiskey being inside the barrel. So I'm not sure if I put it in a smaller barrel, whether I could call it whiskey again or not. But I've got a spiral that I'm going to put in here, and we're absolutely 100% going to check out. So that was the whole thing. 35 bottles in total if you count the moonshine. Did a lot of bottle my own, did a lot of mixings, and found out that Tennessee whiskey is definitely worth the hunt if you can get into it. And not just the big boys, but there's some other folks out there that are doing a very, very, very good job. So we're going to go through these. I just wanted to show you the barrel haul, and we will be tasting a lot through these so that you can understand what all these people are doing in case that you can run up on them as well. So again, hopefully you like this. Please tell me what you think about all these different bottles in the show notes below. And as always, we want you to save your pars, but share those pours.